Hey guys, what is up? My name is PandaMaster, and today's video is talking about PlayStation, specifically Sony Interactive Entertainment, aka PlayStation Studios. That's right. Let's talk about what's coming up on PlayStation's lineup. So, the reason I'm making this video is, one, because Brooke suggested it, and also because the Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart release date was announced for June 11th, aka, not exactly when, because I gave a month, I didn't give an exact date, I'm not like magic or something, but it's exactly when I predicted it would come out, in June. And so, I'd like to think I have some good ideas about when games are going to be releasing just based off of PlayStation's strategy. And so let's talk about 2021 and the games that PlayStation have lined up for this year. So, kicking it off with the most upcoming game, we've got MLB The Show 21. Now, originally it would have been Returnal, but it was recently delayed, and so the next big PlayStation game from their first-party studios happens to be a game coming both to PlayStation and Xbox. So, previously, the MLB essentially strong-armed PlayStation and is like, hey, we want this to be multi-platform now, so San Diego Studio is now developing multi-platform games, which is interesting. We're getting Xbox games on PlayStation and now PlayStation games on Xbox, and so, you know, a little bit of everything. But yeah, this is the upcoming game. I mean, this is coming out April 20th, April 16th if you have the Ultimate Edition, whatever thing, you get early access, all that stuff. In terms of delays, I don't think this will. MLB is usually a safe bet. Now, this is the first one to really release with COVID. Last year's was pretty much done before things shut down, and so this one was likely almost entirely produced with COVID. So, you know, there could be some sort of surprise in store, but I feel like this one's pretty safe to say, you know, we'll be getting it in April. I don't doubt that, although I don't want to say for 100% certainty it won't get delayed, but I feel like we're pretty safe on that one. And so, moving on, because there's not much to say about that, we've got Returnal, which was supposed to release March 19th, but then just a few weeks ago it was delayed to April 30th. Now, I think there's a fat chance this gets delayed again, especially because the big problem with this is Gran Turismo 7, which we're going to get into here in a bit, but honestly, and like, this is a good problem to have, but PlayStation has a really packed schedule, especially when we look into May with their third-party exclusives, which include Deathloop. Actually, that's all their exclusives, but then there's also Mass Effect Legendary Edition and Resident Evil Village all coming out in May. So May is a really packed month, and between MLB and Returnal, that makes it to where Gran Turismo 7 doesn't really have a spot. I would have pegged it for April, but now I'm not so sure. But Returnal being House Marquee, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The people who made Resogun. They're coming out with this one. It's a game that I wasn't hyped for and now have been continuing to get more and more hyped for, but that is coming April 30th. Locking that in. I feel like that's a safe bet. But just like MLB, with COVID, you can't really predict anything, but I'd say it's pretty safe to assume April 30th is when we're getting this game. However, with games like this, and you know, this is a pretty big project for the team, I could see maybe it being pushed back another couple weeks, but I don't think we'll get any more significant delays. But, you know, I feel April 30th is a safe bet. Then we've got Gran Turismo 7. This is, like I said, this one is the wild card, because originally I would have pegged it for April, that was what I was saying, but with MLB and Returnal both coming in April, and then the absolute bomb that is May, at this point, especially since they've announced Rift Apart for June 11th, I'm gonna say Gran Turismo 7 hits late June. I feel like that's gonna happen, because they said the beginning of the year, and I think they're gonna stick by it. This is something that it's, you know, been in development for quite a long time. They confirmed it was in active development in July of 2019, so it'll be almost 2 years at least, but they said it was in active development back in July 2019, which means it's been worked on, I would say 3 years, which, you know, for a racing game, I feel like it's gonna hit. Of course, we have to consider COVID as well, and so there is a possibility that, you know, it might get pushed into the second half of 2021, but we had that trailer back in December, which said first half of 2021, so that means before July. And so I'm gonna say, again, I think this was supposed to come earlier, but between the delays of some games and the packed May, I don't think PlayStation wants to do this, because I feel like after the disappointing release that was Gran Turismo Sport, not saying it was a bad game, just I feel like Forza kind of took the limelight, and so in comparison, Sport didn't really bring much new to the table. I feel like I don't think there's necessarily a lot writing to GT7, but I feel like Polyphony Digital has something to prove with this game. You know, I feel like they're really gonna be putting in a lot of work here, and they're gonna want to show it off. They're gonna want some time in the limelight, right? So if I had to guess, I would say late June. I don't think this would be their most preferred time to release, but I think that's the time where it best fits into the calendar to give it a little bit of time to shine, and so I feel like that's where we're gonna be at. Then we got Ratchet & Clank. The whole reason I'm making this video, or not necessarily reason, but the catalyst, I guess you would say. This is coming June 11th. I doubt there would be a delay. I think we're pretty solid on that, just because I also think this was originally intended to come out earlier. I think had it not been for Miles, this would have been a launch game, and then I think it would have been May at the latest. But then, one, May is jam-packed, and two, I think they put more work into Miles in the Spidey remaster than they originally intended. For instance, adding the backup saves from your PS4 to PS5 for Spidey Remastered, and then also adding a performance ray tracing mode. And so some extra work went into that game that I don't think they necessarily anticipated. Either that or they were delayed. You know, it could be that they were planning a performance ray tracing all along and they just didn't have enough time to get it done before release. But either way, there were delays, and so I feel like Rift Apart was supposed to come out a little earlier in the year, but June 11th, I feel like they're committed to it. Again, COVID permitting, if things happen to push it back, I don't think we'll get any huge significant delays though, but that's just me. Next up, we've got my second most anticipated game of the year, definitely my most anticipated PlayStation exclusive. It's Horizon Forbidden West. So right now we have a release date of the second half of 2021. So I've thought a lot about this, and the big thing with this is what's gonna happen with the God of War sequel, because we know absolutely nothing about it except that it's supposedly coming this year. And so we have three big PlayStation games for the fall. We have Horizon Forbidden West, we have Ghostwire Tokyo, which is supposedly launching in October, at least that's what they're gunning for anyway, is October, and then God of War. So, if I had to guess, I would say Horizon Forbidden West is aiming for a September release, then they've got Ghostwire Tokyo over in October, and then November they're keeping away from, because there's already going to be plenty of stuff in November. We'll have a new Call of Duty, I'm sure plenty of other AAA games. I mean, November is going to be packed no matter what, it always is. And so I feel like they're going to leave November alone, and if God of War comes this year, it's going to come in December. And so here's my biggest thing talking about God of War. The God of War sequel, again, we know nothing about it, and it's the fact that if COVID were not a thing, I would say this was it's a pretty safe bet to say it's coming in 2021. I mean, they've had 3 years of development. I'm sure, you know, there's probably going to be significant things, but they're building off of the previous game, right? I mean, I'm sure that there's plenty of assets they could have brought over from the original to make it so it could be done a little bit faster than the first one if they wanted to. And so I would say 2021 is a safe bet. However, with COVID, that's a problem. So I really don't know. This one's the big wild card. I feel like if it is going to come in 2021, it's the tail end of the year, which personally I don't think is a good call. God of War won numerous Game of the Year awards, and if you release in December, you're basically kissing those goodbye, which obviously isn't important, but PlayStation likes to win awards, and so I feel like if it were up to Santa Monica Studio, it would release in December, but I feel like Sony is going to end up pushing this back into spring 2022, because it would essentially kill it in award season, because it would be too late, and while of course it would be acceptable for it to go into 2022, jeez, that's a weird number, but if it were to go into 2022, it would lose a lot of favor for games that actually release in 2022. I mean, you see it with games like Jedi Fallen Order and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where they do get some recognition, but not near as much as if they were released earlier in the year. And so, overall, December is not a great release date for video games, especially one as highly anticipated as this one. So, I want to say if it's up to Santa Monica, December, but I don't think it is, and especially with COVID, plus all that's writing on the sequel, I mean, there's tons of anticipation. I think it's a fat chance it actually comes in 2021, and I'm pretty shocked they even said it. I honestly wonder if it was something to promote PS5 sales. I mean, it was the first real big PS5 game showcase, and so they want people to get a PlayStation 5, so they were coming out with all the heavy hitters, including, look, new God of War next year, so get your PS5 now, right? So I don't think we're going to hear any news on this for a little while yet. I think we're going to maybe get an update that says holiday 2021, but no firm date, and then a couple months, maybe about September, something like that, like September, October, we'll get news that it gets delayed into 2022. I think it's their entire plan. I feel like this is being used to ship consoles. I would not put it past Sony. You know, no disrespect to Sony, it makes sense. It's honestly a pretty good business strategy if you really think about it, but I wouldn't expect a God of War sequel to come out this year. As much as I am anticipating it, I'm not making any bets on it. And so, but like I said, if we didn't live in a COVID world, I would say it's possible, but with it, you know, December, very, very low chance, but it is possible, but I wouldn't see it, especially because they already have Horizon, and if Ghostwire turns out to be good, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of third-party games, I don't think they need it right now. Like, I don't think there's any pressure for them to release it in 2021, and so I feel like it was mostly just for console sales, if we're being honest here. But those are all the games we know about. I mean, there's plenty of, you know, console exclusives like Final Fantasy 16, which who knows when that game can come out. Personally, don't think it's 2021, especially since they tacked on the 2021 release for God of War. And during the, I believe it was the CES presentation, they gave release windows for a bunch of games like Kena, Bridge of Spirits, Ghostwire, and Deathloop, and all, or no, Deathloop already had one by then, but a bunch of games, and Final Fantasy was not included in that SKU, and so don't expect Final Fantasy to come this year. I'm also very excited for that one, but yeah, it's not coming. And so yeah, those are all the big, you know, PlayStation exclusive games that we know about in terms of first party, and my prediction, that's when they're coming in 2021. Let me know you guys' thoughts. Do you like this kind of video? I'm just kind of experimenting. Would you like to see me do one for Xbox or Nintendo, or just, you know, big anticipated games in general? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Like if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time for whatever it is I'm doing. Alright, see ya.